Hello. Yes, we are gonna be talking about the Ukraine conflict and its effect on Africa. This week, the NATO members met after the G7 meetings. There was some agreement to have a cap on petrol. How does this affect other countries apart from Russia? Obviously, if the price is capped below what OPEC member plus would accept, OPEC members will simply reduce the output, which again will drive up the price of fuel. This does not bode well for most developing countries. The conflict generally is an European conflict. There are conflicts in the Middle East, in Asia, and in Africa. People are being killed, but for some reason, these countries that suddenly have a moral awakening seem to be oblivious to what is happening in other parts of the world. The effort being put into resolving or sanctioning, I wouldn't use the word resolved because there are no effort to resolve the conflict, but rather to prolong the conflict or the war. Has never been put into any other conflict outside of Europe. Is it because the European Union or America is in love with Ukraine? No. In my opinion, we do have racial and undertones in their reactions. And also there's this sense of feeling that the lives of Europeans seems to be worth more than the life of other people around the world. We've already seen how countries such as Poland that previously announced or they had a policy of no refugees, claiming they cannot cope, the country is full and they have no room. But when this conflict erupted in Ukraine, they opened the borders. Fair enough, Poland is the next door country, shares border with Ukraine. That is acceptable. But what do we say about countries far away, thousands of miles away, such as United States and even to some extent United Kingdom, whereby people that flee the conflict or the war in Ukraine can pick up a ticket and fly to America or Britain and be granted asylum? I am almost sure that if this was in Asia, Middle East or Africa, the borders will be tightly shut. You'll be hearing that we are full, we cannot do anything about it. All the efforts to sanction Russia seems to be counterproductive. The people that are more or less suffering from this or seems to have a bigger impact of the conflict or the war on their lives are people in Middle East, Africa and South Asia. We've already seen countries like Sri Lanka that has defaulted on their loans. They can no longer afford to even import petrol, cannot afford to buy anything from abroad because the country, everything's really in a mess. And with the sanction, with Russia being thrown out of SWIFT system, it's really difficult for other countries to buy fertilizers. And when you cannot buy fertilizer from the two biggest producers of fertilizers of this product in the world, namely Russia and Belarus, it means the food crisis we are witnessing is going to get worse, because next harvest will be poorer. Again, as we've seen during the COVID vaccine, when food price goes up, the Western nation that put these sanctions in place will be buying the food for their people. Millions of people in the developing world, unfortunately, will die. Many will suffer, will starve to death. Things that has been taken for granted will become a luxury. So, what do African countries should do? What should other countries do about it? We've seen the conflict in Palestine. There seems to be no universal condemnation by European Union countries. When NATO invaded Libya under pretext of some flimsy excuse about what Gaddafi did to his people, what happened afterward? Was that a defensive action as they claim it to be? What is the purpose of NATO? I am not in support of the conflict, the war in Ukraine. I think it could have been avoided. But at the same time, I could try to understand the reasons behind it, even though it's still wrong. What also I cannot understand is, why should people pay for the conflict? Why should we have to pay higher gas costs to heat our homes? Why should we have to spend more money on fuel? Why do we have to pay for more on bread and other living? Why is the living cost going up when some of this could be avoided? Obviously, all the sanctions does not seem to work. A few weeks ago, the ruble was trading at over $110. Oh no, sorry, over $110 rubles to a dollar. As of yesterday, I believe it was about $53. What a remarkable recovery. The President of America, Joe Biden, stated earlier in the year, just after the conflict, that the rubles had become robust. But I'm sorry today, he is wrong. We are sanctioning Russian petrol and gas. What I do not understand is like sanctioning Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia and Russia produce almost about the same amount of petrol a year. Okay, Saudi Arabia produces a little bit more, but not much. They are already sanctioned on Iran, another major producer. Venezuela, in terms of the supply of petrol. Why do we have to punish ourselves? Are there no better ways to avoid this conflict? In my opinion, I think what we are witnessing is just a battle of egos. And unfortunately, many listeners or viewers of this may not agree with me. But from what I can see, all the areas taken by Russia so far are unlikely to go back to Ukraine. And I believe this week or last week, Russia already recommenced or started reconstruction projects, building flats, of which thousands will be completed, I should say, by September, October this year, so that the residents will have somewhere to live. And more of these will be built in the coming years and months. This is a clear indication that Russia had no intention of returning Mariupol and other areas back to Ukraine, because Russia will not have spent so much money and lives only to give it back to Ukraine. Let me know what you think, guys. This is the first part of our program. In the next episode, I shall be giving you views from other parts of Africa and developing worlds, what they think about the conflict in Ukraine. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe